Good morning. It's still morning. It's about 10:45 and I'm through canning. I've been so busy, but you know, it's that time of the year and I'm finished, so boy, it feels wonderful. So there's more time for fun. Yeah, because yesterday I canned grapes. The day before we had to clean up the whole garden and pick the grapes, because if you pick grapes in the afternoon, their sugar content's higher. And everything seemed to be early this year. So anyway, I wanted to do a terrarium because I had this beautiful jar from a garage sale. And I thought, well, I've never done one before. And I liked it because it had the lid. So sometimes I can have the lid on and off. And Jack just put a little hockey tape around so I don't go banging up the edges. And then I bought a little fern. That's the only thing I bought. Oh, just a minute. So I bought, plant-wise, it's the only thing I bought is I seen this little fern at the grocery store and it said it was good for terrariums and it's got nice kind of feathery ferns. So and then what I did was, because before we put the plants in, I want to explain what I did. So on the bottom, at probably 3 fingers deep, it's probably an inch or two, probably 2 inches of, I put some gravel that was outside, pea gravel, and I bought some tiny little white stones, and I'll show a close-up after. And I also put some horticulture Dutch treat, it was called charcoal, in here. So the bottom is where the water settles to create the humidity to rise. So I have on the bottom where the water settles, and the charcoal's to keep it sweet so it doesn't smell. And then after reading how a lot of people do it and how they and why they, I decided, of course, on my own way. So we have this old screen from a door that wasn't any good anymore, so we use it every once in a while. I used it in the orchid pot, the last video I planted. So I also put 2 round pieces of screen over the rock to stop anything from falling through soil, because the fern was in a little pot. Just give me 1 minute because I gotta run and get that pot. Lucky I went up there. I could smell the gas stove was on. I have to bring that. So I want to make sure you use the right charcoal, so I'll show you this. It's called Dutch treat charcoal. It says, nature's soil sweetener for healthy plant life, used on the bottom of a non-drain planter, terrarium, or bulb culture. Also used in aquariums. So that's what I used on the bottom for a non-draining terrarium. So I also sometimes, if I have a big orchid pot, you can use this in them. It's very good. It just stops from smelling. And it's called fragrance fern. So it says soft fronds of these ferns create a light, airy feel in any space for a unique way to showcase their beauty. Try growing them in terrariums or with orchids, it says. So that's what I've decided to do. And now, then we had to go to Coyote Park. Now Coyote Park, it's only like a 10-minute drive from here, and it like goes straight uphill and around, and oh, all little trails in there. It's all very wooded. Unless you go to the very top, you can overlook the lake. And it's called Coyote Park for a reason, because there's lots of coyotes there, and bears, and sometimes cougars. So, you know, now I lived in the sticks a long time at the very northern tip of Vancouver Island, and we had cougars in our yard, and I'm used to bears in the freezer because, you know, we just lived in this little area, and people had freezers outside because they didn't have room in their trailers, and I was young, and bears would get in there, and bears love frozen coffee. I don't know why, but they do. But anyway, so, and I've had a few scary bear episodes in the past, but we'll be here all day if I start yapping about that. So anyway, we went there knowing there's bears, and lots of people walk there, and it's a no leash park. But one of my neighbors over here a couple years ago, she took her dog there, and she had it off the leash, and it didn't come back. She called and called and called. Finally they got it, but I think it had over 100 stitches. We took Maggie. She's scared. She smells it, and she won't leave us, and we don't take her off because she's our baby. So anyway, we were just looking for some moss, and there's moss everywhere up there. So we got a little sheet, and we're not like robbing somewhere where there isn't much. This whole park under all the trees is moss everywhere you go. So we got a little bit of moss, and it was quite thick. So on top of the screen, I put all this moss, nature's moss, because I didn't buy anything. I don't know how this is going to work out. And then I made a little hole in the moss, and the fern was in like a 4-inch pot, and I took it out, and I took about half the dirt off, but left half, and I put it in the middle of the moss. So now I thought, well, you know, why should I go buy things like jewel orchids or mini orchids? Now they want like $40 for it if I send away. And what I've done is I had this real brainwave, because I do sometimes. And I thought, well, I've got can you hear somebody whistling? I'll have to show you after when I take you for a tour. We were at this garage sale because there was a flash garage sale up the street, and they had this little guy, and he's I guess a bum. I don't know what they call him now, but and he whistles on the hour, and it's 5:02 because he's always early. Anyway, I'll have to show him. He's kind of cute. Anyway, so of course I've got this little baby orchid that I've been trying to get to do something. Now just a minute, I should show you a close-up. Of course, it's a long way around. Okay, so, you know, it's got some new shoots coming. It's been struggling for years. It had no leaves. It's off my oldest orchid, and the stem that went down the pot was so long I couldn't even get it in my pots anymore. So I cut it off like there and there, and it had nothing. But even when there was no leaves, of course I've been babying this for I don't know how long, a couple years. This is as far as I got. And I thought, well, maybe these things I've been having a little trouble with, I'm going to put down here. And then maybe they'll like it, because it's moist and humid, and I can keep my eye on them. It's going to stay in the kitchen. So you know what I'm going to do? It's nice and it's not wet, because you never use a lot of water, like a couple tablespoons. I dribbled maybe a 1/4 cup, because I should have soaked them all. So if you do this soaker moss first, but that's okay. There's not a lot of water in there, so I have a few things that I've been nursing around, and that's the first one. And we're going to see how this can be for nursing certain things that are big enough to fit in here. And if it works, oh, that opens all kinds of possibilities. Like, if it works, a person could have like an aquarium that has a lid, or make a lid for it, that's big enough to fit a big orchid even. Anyway, if you have a big one, I do know from all my reading you need fans. Now, I open this a lot. I can breathe in there. It's so small, so I think we'll stick small. Okay, I'm going to find a little spot in the moss, and I'm going to show you a close-up when I'm done. And I can still go in here, and I can pick them out and do them. Now, the other one, holy, this is Horella reticula. Now, I had 3 mini orchids years and years and years and years ago that these 2 have never flowered. This one flowered for a while. I had all 3 of them mounted in one older video way back. Could have been like 4 or 5 years ago. I had a beautiful mount. I tried mounting it. I tried washing it every day. Of course, winters are very dry here. It's consuming work. And then I went to this, and they kept alive, but they have not flowered. And this one was just getting worse and worse. And I'm going to show you a close-up how dry this is. So I put it in the little plastic container like a green, but these are all very dry. There's a few green roots, and it's suffering. Now, it flowered when I first had it. It flowered maybe the first year, the odd little flower. It's just never done good. And you know, I saw somewhere I went looking at prices, and I thought, no, I'm sure I can do something like this. And what I'm going to do is, let me get a mister. I think I'll mist him first because he's very dry. Now, I've had a bit of just moss from the yard in a little container using and I had the one I just put in there, and I had this one in there, and it has help. Now, this is very small, and I got a bigger, I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to show you where everything is after when we go for a tour. Now, I'm going to find a little spot for this one, maybe right here. Somewhere where I can see it, because it's going to be in the kitchen with me. It can't be, I mean, it's been in here. I'm just hoping that it'll take off. Okay, so now I've got Phalaena larati socardi. This has never ever flowered, and I have seagull crawfish pie. Lots of leaves on that one. So I'm going to dump them out. I'm going to see what I've got, and they're going to go in there too, I think. I haven't been out of here in a while. You know, if they're big orchids, little orchids, there's certain types like phals for sure. They love to have their roots. I was reading that in an Australian flower book when I was canning grape juice yesterday. And I already kind of knew that and mentioned it before, but they love to have their roots to cling. That's how they were designed. In the forest, they'll hang down and they'll look for something to cling to, and they flatten on that side. And they're happier when they do that because that's what they naturally want to do. Now, this one looks fairly well rooted down in here. It's just never flowered. So, they were even saying, because years and years ago, they used to use mostly terracotta pots. And one thing they said about the terracotta was it was good because they could cling to it. Now, it's harder at repotting time. And I've kind of been the whole roundabout on that, where now I shake the bark out. I don't, this one's going to be moving to a whole new home, but I don't anymore disturb those roots if I don't have to. But these ones I have to because it's moving to a new home. I don't know what I'll put in my sewer pot after. I had bricks in the bottom. Clay flower pot shards. I thought I'd save the end plantings to share with you guys and what I'm doing, and we kind of can watch how they get along, how they progress in this environment, because they're small and they just haven't been progressing. This one at least has a fair amount of roots that are a little bit stuck, and I didn't soak it first, and we almost got it. Somewhere you have to just reach in there. Oh. Okay. They start to go over and join each other. I want to make sure what roots I got. Some are coming from one, headed to the other one. Right. Okay, you're down there. Just about got it. Okay. There. Okay, we lost one. I think those are to that one. Okay. Okay. Now we should show you this one. I'm going to leave the bark. Oh no, the bark's coming off. Now there's no soggy roots. This one it's got net damage because it was stuck. And there's nothing rotten because they've been very dry in that pot. But this one got a new leaf this year. And close up. I'm going to bring the camera in. I know, I'm sorry. Okay, let's bring this in. See what we can do here. There. Okay. Okay, that should be better. So you can see this is pretty nice. And it's going to go for a home in there. It's never had more than 2 leaves. It's never flowered. It's not rotten. It has 1 new root. Little one trying to come. So, there's something that will never get big because they're very mini minis. So they'll never get big. But I'm thinking they'll be happy in here. So, if I notice anything that doesn't look too happy, well then, and I'm just gonna put those roots down in here. Now this is lightly packed moss from the woods. It's not the best moss. It's just what I went with that was local. because I don't normally use a lot of moss. But you know, moss is good for sick starting orchids and sick new plants. And so now I got, I'm going to show you a close-up, but this is kind of interesting. So that one's in. Now, this one, I don't think it's stuck too hard. I'll have to put the names in. There we go. So this one was growing good. No flowers ever. It's got some big pieces of bark and stuff. I'm leaving that bark. You can see how well it's stuck on. And it's not old. It's not soft. It's hard bark. So now we have to find the perfect spot for it, which is right in here. So if I take those roots and I make a nice little hole. Now I have that thin screen down there, so it can't, the roots won't go through. It's pretty fine screen, and the roots won't go through, and I can show you a close-up of where that is too. So I think after I could trim these off and put them in there so I remember who's in where, or label it. We'll see what I do. So one more. I'm going to put one more. I'm going to put my Paphiopedilum, my slipper orchid, Hung Shang Macbeth, Silver Bell. This one has, the other one is growing really well. This one is not. The bark is too big, and so I'm going to find a little spot for that. And you know, if it starts to grow up, I could have the lid off. And if it's doing, you know, I'll put it on and off. And this lid is high too, which was really good. So, one slipper orchid coming up. And it doesn't have much for roots. The poor little thing, it doesn't, but it's got 3 good ones. 3 good roots. So, I want to make sure I put it where I can see it. Okay. I got a little bit more moss, but I think just being in that environment, because some people in a moist environment can put them mount them. I think it's okay that the roots are going to be humid. It's going to be more like a different area living in. So let me see. Well, there's a good spot right there. So I'm going to put that down in there. So once you've got them in, I've got all of them in, then you can mist them, and you don't have to water them very often. They create their own environment. So now I've misted it, and before I put the lid on, I want to show you as close as I can get in here. And then I got to show you some other things and what I've done and what's happening with them. And do you see this beautiful vase? I got it for $3 at that garage sale. I think it's really old. It has a little dent in it, like right here, right there. But it's patched on the inside, and it's something from the factory. But I just loved it, so I did get that, plus that whistling bar guy. And so I'm going to show you a really close-up of what I've done, and we'll keep track how it's doing. I'm going to keep it on the counter. It's kind of nice to see. And then, oh, I can see the roots are already looking happy. I think it's going to be a good thing. And of course, I potted them way back when I had the big bark. And you know, it's time it was changed anyway. So that was my plan for this. And then the lid goes on after you mist. And I think it's going to be awesome. So let me get the camera. We're going to go on a bit of a tour and a bit of a close-up of what's going on. Okay. I'll try and move slow so that I don't drive you crazy. So all the windows are empty because all the orchids are outside. And my misting bowls are all set up for when they come in. So that's good. And the rabbit's foot fern is getting what? It's really happy here. I kept moving it, and this seems to be where it wants to be. And so let's try and get a close-up in here. And we can see right in here, this is, we've got one here. Maybe if I have my finger in there or something. Okay. This is the fowl. You can see him there. So I'll be able to watch him. And let's turn it around. And its roots, there's its little log that it's on. Okay, and in here, that is the seagull latte. That is one of the mini orchids. It's got a little spot. And here's the slipper orchid right in here. It's going to be kind of neat to watch them. They can't do any worse than they've been doing. And down in here, this one was just struggling and very dry. That's the first one. So, you know, we can see them all, and we can go in here and we can look down and double check on them. But they're just in a humid environment. They're not buried. They're not in soil. They're just in a humid environment. So this is our experiment, and it's kind of fun. And who knows? Jack said, wouldn't it be nice if you could put a little froggy in there, like a real one? I says, I don't think so. I think it'd be jumping out, and I might run into problems. I like little frogs, but... So, over in this corner, you see these two windows? Finally, I found out that I can have garden windows made, and the guy has ordered them. So we're not too sure when it's going to happen, but there'll be one on this side and one on that side. And it's the same brand as the window in the dining room. I'll go show you that because it's the bigger one. You know, if anybody's thinking, because I love them because they do get more light, how they stick out. So, but the west ones here, they're in here, they just can't be in through the heat of the summer. But it's from the same company, and they make these things so you can move the shelves wherever you want, and they put openers in the bottom, and they'll be smaller than this one. But that's the type I'm getting, and there'll be two, one on each side. I'm so looking forward to it because the good thing about these is the north end, they get light, and this window here will get the east light, and it'll get the north light, and only a little because this is the north end, the far end of the house. And this window on this side is very protected because of the hedges out there. So it's protected from the west, from all the heat, but it'll still get that nice light from the north and the east. And there's that thing that was whistling a couple dollars at the garage sale. We're strange. Okay, now I have to tell you about, this is the last orchid I potted. Almost every, you know where they say you're going to lose the flowers? Not one flower has fell off, and they're all opening and more coming. But you know what I've been doing? I've been watering, because this is a small pot. I've been watering every second day. For one reason, because you know you're doing your transition, which shocks the orchid. They've been not able to breathe because that moss, even though it was a new orchid there, but the moss was so hard, it was almost like cement. So it wasn't getting air. So those middle roots that you think are good, they may not be working properly because they haven't had air for so long. So they're living off a few aerial roots until they grow new roots for this. And last time I tried the cage with the plastic, and it helped a little, but not, it didn't, the leaves did limp. I'm watching these leaves, and because with new bark, it drains out right away. Plus it's a small pot. Once the root starts to grow, I can move it to a bigger pot, which I prefer. But this is kind of an adjustment pot, and it might be working out good because the flowers, when you've got so many flowers on a plant, it's drawing a lot of energy, needs lots of water. So I see a little fly because I've been canning everything and they are around. I should have showed you my catcher because it's working real good. Okay, and of course we have to show you Alphinia because she's getting watered every third day, I think. So there's a new one ready to open. You see that bottom bud hanging there? It's amazing. She's been having flowers since I got her. And that was April. I'm still bragging about that. April 28th. Pretty amazing. And of course down here is the Militonopsis. It had a bloom. I haven't taken that off. But they're doing good. And this one, it seems I'm watering these every second day, and probably these because there's still a little moss in them. Now that's the new leaf. It's bigger. That's one sign your orchid's doing good, when the leaves are still coming big. Sometimes in the adjustment stage, what happens is you can see the leaves are small and they're just not working as good. So I have an old bug catcher, and I put in a little piece of banana skin, a little bit of red wine we didn't like, and apple cider vinegar. Now it has tons of dead bugs in here. It's catching them like crazy, because when you're bringing tomatoes and grapes and everything in the house, you're getting fruit flies. So there's no plants in here basically. This is all from canning. Now let's go outside. You be a good girl, Maggie. Okay. It's going to be a beautiful day today. So, yeah, that's the steamer I use for my grape juice. It's quite old-fashioned. It's been used a lot. You put the water in the bottom. That's the most precarious part because you have to make sure it doesn't boil dry on you. And then the grapes go in. It just steams, and then it comes out a tube. So I got 21 quarts of concentrated organic grape juice. So, and I had to put this up. It's been out in the backyard, but so beautiful. Okay. Actually, it was Kathleen that got me on these. On her channel, she showed all her other houseplants. And she leaves comments a lot, and if you can take a few minutes of your day to pray for her, because she's suffering from cancer that has in more than one place in her body, and she's been, if you see, she's always comments on our videos. She always comes to visit, but she could use anybody's prayers if you got a minute. Okay, so over here, we still have hardly had any rain all year, so, but we did have one night. So this is the one that was my orchid that I put in the double pot. And this was the new orchid, and it's getting a new leaf. Now this is going to be probably a small leaf because it's adjusting, but they're still pretty good. They did get limp, but they're still pretty good. They'll come. All of mine have been like that originally. These are the two that years ago had scale so bad, and I used a lot of hydrogen peroxide on them, and they suffered. And those are the old leaves. They're still hanging on, but the new leaves are all firm and quite big, and they've made through this dry spell really well. And this is my basket. And watering day is Wednesday, so you can see this is dry, but they're happy. So I'll kind of let you have a look. So I have lots of humidity things. I tried one of these. I think it's a Lavolt or something. I really prefer my Mr. Bowls, but I thought I'd try it for areas where I didn't have enough room or I had a big crowd. So you don't want to put your orchids too close to one of those because they don't like it. So this is what's happening here. This is a new leaf. They've done pretty well considering the heat. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me. Hey Maggie. Hi. You be a good girl? Huh? Yeah. Come on up. Come on. Okay, everybody. See if I can do this. Thanks for joining us. Me and Maggie. We'll see you again next time. Bye.